lot of things going on, but Atlanta got a lot of things
And
going on.
we don't want to alienate our Atlanta folk.
Oh,
So,
no, not at all. Listen,
come on out to New York. It's all
peace
fun.
up, A-Town down.
Viraltone.
We're back.
Yes.
So, this is a new episode. I've met this lovely lady about a couple years ago in a train station, and her angelic voice blew me away. Normally, passing through any sort of train station in New York City, you're just trying to go from one place to another. And I was on a destination. I was actually late, but I heard her voice, and I had to stop to myself and say, "Wow, she's such an amazing rendition." I forgot the song, but it was such an amazing rendition of the song.
I don't know.
And so I decided, you know what, I should meet you. And you gave me your follow, and I found out that your name was
All right.
Arye Harmony.
All right,
Thank
Harmony.
you.
Yay.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So yeah, I just thank you for taking the time to come out. I appreciate that.
No problem. My honor.
Yeah. So I just, like I said, life happens, and I know you've been doing your thing in New York. I wanted to ask you, just your story, like where did you start, and where did Arye come from?
Well, I have been singing, I have to say seriously singing, since probably about 13 years old. I started off rapping at first.
Word.
And yeah, that's how everybody knew me. My
Okay.
school, my community, the church, everybody knew that I was a rapper.
Yeah.
And then when I got about 13, I was like, I think I'm pretty good at the rap game now. Let me focus on more of perfecting my singing voice. And so I've been doing that ever since then. Then when I went to college, I was one of those kids that was very multi-talented. So I wanted to do all the things that I was pretty good at. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to go to the WNBA. I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I wanted to go to school for animal science. I wanted to draw. And even the principal from, I think it was a principal director from Texas, this art school in Texas, flew all the way to my house in Alabama to recruit me to their school because I was like above average of the art skill. And I was like, you know what? I really want to be a veterinarian. So boom, art was canceled out right there. Went to school for animal science. When I finished school, I said, Mom, I'm moving to New York to become a singer,
Wow.
songwriter.
So let me ask you. You grew up in Alabama.
Yes.
And what part?
Originally from Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Yep,
Okay.
in Montgomery.
Gotcha. And your entire time you were just rapping and just doing other things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like you said, what was the year that you said, or what was the time that you thought to yourself, I'm going to move from all these other ideas, these great ideas, to singing? What was that year? What year was that? 12, 13?
Yeah. On point, actually. Yeah, 2012, 2013.
Okay. All right. And so when you told your mom, hey, I want to go to sing, out of all cities, why New York?
Because and people ask me that too. It's like, how come you didn't move to Atlanta? I was like, listen.
Tennessee?
No, not Atlanta. And not Atlanta. New York got a lot of things going on, but Atlanta got a lot of things going on.
We don't want to alienate our Atlanta folk.
Oh, no, not at all. Listen,
come on out to New York. It's
peace
all
up,
fun.
A-Town down all day. I love Atlanta artists,
Right.
but I don't know. It wasn't pulling at me. I wasn't gravitating towards Atlanta, but I'm so glad that I moved to New York. I love the diversity here. The music is everywhere. Everybody has a market for everything here.
Yeah.
And New York was just pulling at me. I love the big lights, the city life, and I just feel like New York fulfilled everything that I was looking for into a move into singing.
Word.
Yeah.
I know you said 2012 and 13. Let's backtrack a little bit.
All right.
Well, what was the year that you said to yourself, or you said to mom, or you said to yourself, hey, out of all the things I could be doing something, I want to do singing, and I want to take it seriously?
Well, 2013 was the year that I moved here.
I guess, no, I mean, what I meant is, like, age-wise. What was your age?
Oh, I was 23.
23. Wow.
Yeah.
Also, you've done your thing. What were you doing before? Were you just working odd jobs?
Yeah, pretty much just working odd jobs. I was a bartender before I moved here at Village Gallery. It was a wonderful place to be in. And it got to a point, and this is where I was like, you know what, this is it. It got to a point where that was the only place I was happy.
Yeah.
Whenever I walked through those doors, tongue twisted, to go to work and to be behind the bar, I was happy. And when I walked back outside, it cut off immediately, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
Dope.
I have to go.
Wow. It's so amazing when you hear stories like that. It's sometimes you can't explain something that's bigger than you. Sometimes
No.
it's just a farther, like, some people believe in like supernatural things or spirits or just entities. But you just realized that your true self wouldn't be happy unless you made that move, right? At some point. Because to say, I want to go to New York is one thing. To move and just say, you have really no background or understanding of New York. You're just like, let me just go. That's another thing. And doing it is an entirely another thing, too.
Well, I will say I have always been a fan of New York history. I have always been a fan of New York history. So the whole Harlem Renaissance, looking into, I was always very diverse in music. So I was always looking at like Frank Sinatra or I'm so serious. The whole, my earpiece fell. Whatever. Rat Pack. Just that whole jazz era. And then when it moved to 90s, I was always a Mos Def fan.
Wow.
That's my boy. And when he changed his name, I'm not going to get into that because I don't want my feelings flying all over the place here.
That's fair. No, I felt the same way. It's the same way with Kanye, 03 Kanye.
Yeah,
is what I'm in love
Nas
with versus now Kanye, yeah.
I'm
That's
not
another
going to.
conversation.
Yeah, it's another conversation. Right?
Right.
But Nas was always inspiration. I love Lauryn Hill as well, and I was always a part of the music history and the activism. Just being an activist in New York and just everything that went on, the whole bombs, the burnings, the blackouts here. It was all fascinating to me. So I did have somewhat. I didn't have personal experience because I haven't actually been in New York. So whenever I went to New York, I only went one time for a visit, and then the second time I went to New York, I moved here.
Wow.
Yeah, so I knew a great deal about New York because it's just always fascinating information.
Driving, how far is that from Birmingham to, let's say, Brooklyn?
From Birmingham to Brooklyn?
Yeah. What's the range of the hours?
Yeah, it's definitely about a 17-hour drive. 17 hours.
And when you first came here, you didn't know, like, how was, because even when I moved here, I had to navigate to understanding the train station. I was confused about the trains. How was that for you?
That was very interesting with me. I moved here and I lived with my cousins. At the time, it was 3 cousins in the household. One of the younger ones who was closest to my age, I was hanging on to him and, wanted to cling to him, but, some adversity had happened and we just had like our differences or whatever. And he was just pretty much like, that's it. And I was just like,
you just had to quickly learn how to be on your own.
I had to learn my way around. So I was forced to learn my way around. And when I did that, it was no stopping.
That's it.
So I even direct New Yorkers better than New Yorkers on the transit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, New Yorkers asking me, oh, where is this or where is that, of all different walks of life. Like, you have Chinese people
For
here.
Sure. See, I can't do that anymore. I get too impatient. I'm like, look,
no,
it's someone over there.
I am all game for it. I was like, yeah, you just take the R to Canal and, you get the J from there.
Right.
Yeah,
so okay,
easy.
First couple of weeks being here, it was, or what was your first gig? Let's script that. What was your first gig here? Since you talked about the history, and which is so amazing to know, because now I understand a little bit. You're a fan of like content, a fan of culture, a fan of black, like when rap and music actually mattered.
Oh, of course.
And so lyrics, I assume, mattered to you.
Very much.
Right.
Which, by the way, Mariah Carey needs to get that songwriting award. Just gonna say.
She needs it soon.
She needs that very soon.
Agreed. Are there with like when you first got here? What was the first couple of gigs that you were getting, or were you getting gigs, or did you go from like here and then adjustment and then working a little bit and then trying to do it, or did you just say, like how I met you, I'm just gonna go on the train? Like, what made you go? Because I'll be honest, like I met a lot of musicians, and I don't think a lot of musicians would think immediately, uh, I'm gonna take my chances on the train. Like, what enabled you to have enough uh, uh, confidence to say, I can do this in front of a million people who are passing by,
Yeah.
and hopefully it'll go. Like, what happened?
Well, to start off with the confidence part and the amount of audience, I have always been a fan of big audience, and that is a little confusing to people because they're like, "How are you so comfortable performing in front of 200 or 500 people, but you're a little nervous when there's 20 people, 10 people in the room?" I say, I don't know. I just always been a fan of a big audience, so it's always easier for me. But I've learned, I've adjusted. But moving here was a roller coaster. When I first moved here, before I moved here, of course, we as survivors, whenever you have that first, thinking or thought when you're moving to a place, I want to go ahead and be set in something and not be on the street or, not to be begging
Oh yeah, because
anyone.
you could be a starving artist for
Right,
sure.
literally starving, and right. And I was just like, so before I moved, I wanted to hit up some jobs, and I was just like, let me just go ahead and get to working. I had a couple of jobs planned out. I worked with people online,
Dope.
and I just had like a group of people that I was going to meet when I got here, and some jobs lined up for interviews. Moved to New York, all of that vanished. Every last bit of it. From every person to every job, it was completely out the window.
So what did that show you? What lesson did you learn immediately from moving to New York? And
Immediately, I already knew New York is not going to be a joke.
that people are fickle too.
That was it.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't learn how fickle at first. It took a minute because, that was my first hard hands-on experience with New York. So I didn't know the whole job turnover situation and until I actually moved here. But so when I got here from scratch, started all over, I said, you know what, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up, even though I already had these things planned out. I ended up going from job to job to job. It was just a series. I've never gotten fired in my life until I moved here. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is no game.
Right. No, I did.
So
being from understanding Southern values myself, I understood when I got here, it was everyone's moving a mile a minute.
I'm telling you, that New York minute is a serious
it's a serious
statement.
minute. It's 60 seconds of your life. Yeah. And no, it's so I could totally understand and empathize with the fact that you think you're doing well, and then someone has to remind you in certain ways, and that may take away your confidence. That may.
It actually did. It made me so much stronger.
Resilient.
Yeah, it made me very much determined. So I wasn't, there are, your times where I wasn't lacking confidence, but there were just times where I was just asked why. Like, why in the world is this going on?
Mm-hmm.
But no, definitely was hitting even harder when all of that stuff was going on. Yeah, then, like I said, I got here. I'm so mad that I cannot remember my first gig. More than likely, I wrote it down somewhere, but
That's fair.
I'm so mad I can't remember.
Years ago, I wish I could remember my first paycheck from the real job I got. So, no, it's all good. Let me ask you this. With your experiences of being in New York, or just about you, since you tell me what you've been mesmerized by with New York, with the Renaissance and the movement and the awareness, and I think that speaks volumes to what you're ingesting, because I think that's important. What music you're ingesting is important for you. What are some songs or my question is, what are some of your influences? If someone says, I want to see Arye, who are your musical influences that they can reference or that you love to listen to, or even both, Who are you similar to?
Hands down, this actually took a long time for me to answer this question because I never really think of who to really compare myself to, but as I listen,
all human or unique.
No, I mean, I think we all have a reference. I just didn't know which one I was because I was so versatile in music. Like I've
Word.
sung country music, I've sung rock music, I've
Whoa.
sung neo soul, I've sung R&B, I've sung jazz, and it was very difficult for me for a long time to answer this question. But I can now. I always hands down say Jill Scott because she is such neo soul and jazz at the same time, and she
Mhm.
can do R&B. And even though she's not a rapper, she's a poet in her music, and that's pretty much where rap comes from. It's
Yeah.
from poetry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say hands down Jill Scott. A lot of people say India Ari or Erica Badu or even Brandy, and I'm just like, yeah. Some people
Yeah,
I
well,
don't see,
sometimes
but
you tap into it if you need to.
yeah, for me, I would say Jill Scott.
Dope. And speaking of poetry, have you done poetry?
Yes,
Really?
very much.
So you're like well versed in the game of poetry.
Yes, I have done poetry for quite some time. Not as advanced as other people. And the
Hey,
reason I
it's all
say
good.
that, even though I love my work and a lot of people love my work of poetry, I do not memorize my poems.
Wow.
So people can do that and be on stage and they just, all out there memorizing their poems. Me, I am in my poetry book. I am looking at my
Wow.
words, but everybody loves it though, so that's
Yeah.
what matters to
And
me.
you know, I think
As long as you feel it.
I used to think that I would appreciate songwriting from artists who told me when I first learned about songwriting. I thought you always have to rhyme, or even poetry. When you're rhyming in hip hop or songs or poetry, the rhyme has to be an exact rhyme. And as I gotten older, I realized and other people have let me know that rhyming doesn't have to be exactly that. So when you say like when you're thinking of poetry, people have to not have the book because that's not cheating. And it's like no, it's spoken word. It's a form of expression.
Yeah, it's just the way you do your own thing,
Right.
pretty much. Now, songwriting, that is something that I am passionate about. So,
let's talk about that.
yeah, I mean, my influences in songwriting has always been Marcia Ambrosius.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, hands down.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, no, hands down, Marcia Ambrosius and Babyface. Those two,
Ooh.
yeah, those two have always been my top inspirations in
Gotcha.
songwriting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so Marcia Ambrosius like butterflies, right?
Yes.
I honestly think. I mean, I love Mike. I think she should have kept that song. Personally, I think that it's just. I felt like that was just her vibe. When you listen to it and you think of Marcia, you're like, hey, Marcia would have killed that. But I understand. People got to get paid.
But
so.
I mean, yeah, I mean, her and Nat, both of them are out though. Michael's version and Floetry.
Right.
So and Natalie too. I don't discredit her at all. Like she's a dope songwriter, lyricist, which is was her alter name.
Right.
Yeah. So those have always been my top inspirations. I love Mariah Carey's songwriting. It's just I don't know. She's definitely up there for me, but it took me a long time to realize how many songs she actually wrote, and I was like, "Oh snap!" So now she's in my top.
Question, because I don't know much about Mariah. How many songs did she write?
She's written pretty much her whole career.
Oh, so she just doesn't sing. She's hands on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess for you, because of the respect of those greats, you are the type of person that if someone gave you a project or if a label said, "All right, we want to pitch you," you're more than likely gonna go, "I don't want these songs. I got my own repertoire of songs."
Oh yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Definitely.
Gotcha. Because some people just want the fame, and some people, but it's good to know that you are, oh, that's dope. That is dope.
Yeah, I had to let go at one point because I was very hard on my songs, and I was just like, I don't really want to be singing other people's songs. But as I gotten older and started to want to give opportunities, I was like, you know what? If someone has a dope song for me, I would take it.
Dope.
Yeah.
But it's also about the vibe of the person,
Yeah, of course.
It can't be
of course.
a transactional type of situation.
I'm telling you,
Right,
you already know.
I understand. Hey, no, that's fair. Because energies are very, very. If you think about it, they're higher calling, and you don't want to spend your energy with someone who you feel like is a transaction. You want to see that we're planting the seed for the garden to grow.
Definitely.
in a way.
I've even actually wrote songs for Not they have not took them, but I wrote them with them in mind. Like I wrote a song for K Michelle for her to sing.
Country?
No, and
'cause
I still not heard this country
Oh.
version of hers.
Oh my gosh, it's on YouTube. Like it's
I'm
I'm happy for her because it's you could tell it was a form of artistic expression, and it's not like I'm playing like Old Town Road. It's like, oh, wow, not to, I mean, hey, it is what it is, but it's just you can tell she has an appreciation for
Yeah.
for
Okay.
country music. Yeah.
I have got to hear this. I
Yeah.
just cannot. I got to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote a song for her. Funny story. I was working at this restaurant called Bubby's, very popular restaurant. While I was going in for my shift, she passed me, and I did not know. Yes, I did not know that she passed me, and I had that song for her, written at the time. And my coworker was like, "You literally just missed K Michelle." And I was like, "What? I have a song for her. Are you serious?"
Yeah.
So when I turned back around, she was gone.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Life is funny like that sometimes. I genuinely believe if it's meant to be, your paths will cross again.
Yeah, I still have it. I wrote a song for Pink too.
Dope.
Yeah,
Old Pink or New Pink?
Old Pink,
Old
right?
Pink.
I
Okay.
know.
Yeah, 'cause Pink
right?
did the transformation too. I was like, oh, okay.
I know.
I'm happy for it.
It
I
was
am.
for Old Pink, right? So
Okay.
even
You
if
think she'll take it, or you think she'll go?
I don't think, I don't
okay,
think she'll take it now. It is definitely with her misunderstood kind of vibe. Like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there anybody who you'd feel like would go for that same sort of song with Pink's misunderstood vibe right now? Like maybe Kalani, maybe her.
You know what? Pink was she was very much in her own category. She was very, I don't really see another artist that's on her wave that she was on at that time. She was so raw. Like, oh my gosh, Family Portrait, and just the way she expressed her voice. I mean, you can always tell her voice. It sounds like Pink, but back then it was uncut. It was just fresh out. And so the way she portrayed her emotions in the vocals, whether it was studio or live, like you felt it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If any other person, it'll probably be Meredith. That song BITCH. She's the only other person I probably see. She's an older artist as well. So
right.
Yeah, I don't
That's
really
fair.
see anyone like today really on that misunderstood wave.
It feels like. What do you feel like the music industry is right now? What do you feel like the focus
right now,
especially with female artists
and
songwriting?
Gosh. I would say before 3 years ago, music industry has become very fickle. It has become, of course, we know it's a lot of corruption going on in music now.
It's an industry, so it's got to be built on something.
Exactly.
Right? It's a business, so
exactly. Hey, whatever. America is built on corruption, but we're not gonna go
right,
there.
Right.
But I mean, it is what it is. Nowadays we don't have labels who want to do artist development. They want you to already be developed before they can even touch you. They want you to already have 500K to 1 million followers before they even contact you or hit you up about hardly not even a whole brand deal now,
right.
but just a pitch, and that's pretty much it. But if you are hot, and I'm not gonna really bash like that, but I'm very passionate about music, and the direction that it has went. It has disappointed me, but I will say that lately you do have a handful of quality artists now. HER is so dope to me. When she came out with her first EP with Focus and that EP, I felt like someone gave her my songbook.
Really?
And she expressed everything that I wanted to express in my album.
You know what's so interesting about HER is just the fact that her songs and her I don't know. The human condition is very interesting. Like we are human, so we are by very definition we're not gods. Not necessarily we can aspire to be gods in our own right, but we are not perfect. And so when I've heard her songs and you can tell it's about emotion and I'm like, well, she's like 18, 19 talking about relationships.
And the way she talks about it.
It's just, to me, it's like I get everyone's on a journey, but it is very eye opening to know that the industry can have you see things
Yeah.
that may not be, necessarily positive. It may not be, but it's life. It's a
Yeah.
reflection off of your experiences, and the way that she just channels her energy, and she's just now on the forefront. Everyone loves her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we do have a handful of great artists out there with great quality music. It makes sense. It's a message. You can understand everything. You can relate to it. And so, we got music. It's a good head bob.
Yeah.
I give it that. It's a good head bob. It's a good, jig with a 1-2. And but I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I just feel like music has definitely went in a different direction. We can't blame it all on the record labels either.
True,
A lot
'cause
of
some
people are
it
like,
takes two to
we
tango,
make
right?
it. We make it
Yeah,
popular.
yeah.
We
It
play.
takes two to tango.
Hey,
Yeah.
we put the views on there. We put them on the charts because it takes us to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
So people can say what they want all day about Young Thug and whatever's other Uzi Vert and this.
But they're getting the views.
I don't know, little dirt, something like that.
Little boat.
Yeah,
Boat.
I don't know. I have no idea.
They're all little.
You-
In their mind, yeah. Well, I mean, hey.
it's funny how this Lil wave is coming back.
Yeah. I think it all comes from Wayne, and it's like, well, if I could do Lil.
Well, yeah, that was a Lil Wayne, Lil Bow Wow, Lil Romeo. Like, it was a whole wave, Lil right there, and then now it done came back. So I don't know. But it came back differently. It came back with Percocet and Molly and popping everything. So
For sure. God bless him. I'm shit. Your experiences of being with New York, when you were going, did you do any songwriting classes or courses? And then, more importantly, you went when you were working, odd jobs. How did you get to the studio, or when did you think to yourself, okay, because singing a song and writing a song is one thing, but actually performing it and recording it on a record is another. So, what was the timeline of that?
Ooh, well, I literally have about 70 songs wrote.
Word.
Right now, yeah.
Word.
So I always have songs to record in the studio.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because Testing the Waters EP, actually all of those are my latest ones. Like those were fresh. I just wrote those whenever I started recording them.
So, before we go to the recent EP, what was your first song? Your first song that you, because I'm sure you recorded.
That I recorded.
Released. What was your first song?
Actually, you can't find it anywhere though, because I was like, nah, this is terrible. But
What was it about?
I still have it. It's still a great song,
right. But it's on your hard drive.
Yeah,
it's in the archives.
Yeah. It's
what
definitely archived. It is called "Beautiful Storm," and
that's definitely a first song name. But it's all good. It's all good. Hey, no.
How dare you?
Beautiful song.
But it fits so well. I mean, it's. I haven't reviewed that song in so long.
What was it about?
I mean, it's about
how calm a storm can be in the middle of it, but
it's kind of so the thing is it's kind of it's based on like relationships, getting to know a person. So it's like I look into your eyes and I see a storm, but it's beautiful. And so it's like, you have so much going on. Like, you are a tornado right now. Like, you are a natural disaster. Yeah. But at the same time, it is beautiful, which is actually another song, by the way. I think Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another person who, fun fact, she didn't want to be a part of American Idol. They were doing this thing where they would force people to do a movie in the beginning stages of the American Idol thing. So you got a record label and then you got a movie. She didn't want to do the movie with the other dude that recently came out. She was like, I did not want to do it, but she had to fake it. And, and so now she's, in a better space, a better mindset. But, when you first get those songs out, they're like, okay, well, we like you, pretty face, so sing this song. But, it's just
wow.
It's annoying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much Beautiful Storm. It's built around that concept. It's a very deep song. Like even the the music to it is very deep. It's just when I recorded it though, and I listened back to it, and I was like, man, this sounds like a amateur 12-year-old singing this song. Like, I was just not feeling it. I was not feeling the vocals on it. So I was like, I would still love to sing the song, but if anybody else, wanted the song, I'll be more than happy to give it to them if they can really pull it off, because it's powerful.
Who do you think could pull it off if you had a dream list of people?
Oh, Kelly Clarkson can pull it off hands down, because
Okay.
I said, it's a powerful song. I come from a powerhouse foundation. So when I first started off singing, I was singing Christina Aguilera, Whitney Houston, Shaka Khan.
Ooh.
Like those were my first songs that I was singing.
Yeah.
To the point that later on, when I had to sing styles like Corinne Bailey Rae or Arye, it was very hard for me to sing soft songs. And a lot of people are like, that is so interesting. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Because you would think if you mastered a Whitney Houston hard, like an energetic, emotional song, then it should be easy.
It was not easy for me.
Wow.
Yeah, my vocals were very off, very shaky. But see, now, I was once again determined, and I practiced, and now I can sing a Corinne Bailey Rae. Very easy.
Dope. Wow. You know what's crazy? I think just from you talking about your journey and experiences, I really am impressed with how you've been able to navigate and just understand that if you really want this music thing, that you're gonna probably do most, if not all, the stuff on your own. Like anything, like it's like being a musician. It's like being an entrepreneur. Like it is. Like you got to use the resources that you have to make the best out of the situation. So you were telling me about making the move and recording certain songs that meant a lot to you.
Yeah.
Upon the writing process, you came across a song that you decided was good enough to release to the masses, which was Red, right?
Red.
Right.
Yes.
That was 2015, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about that. What was the process like, or like, when did that start, or what was the motivation behind Red?
So Red is about someone who you pretty much loved. You really cared for someone. And for whatever reason it is, they just wind up and leaving you. And so a lot of times when you have invested so much mentally and emotionally, not only physically, you are left in a place that you are stuck and you don't really know what to do. And so over a period of time, you really come within yourself and you realize that you can move on in your life without that person. So that is what Red is really talking about. And I think we all kind of had that experience one way or another. If not just to a person, just being dependent on something. Yeah, so that's pretty much what Red is.
Dope. Is there anything more that you want to? That's an interesting perspective. Is there? I feel like there's a little bit more that you could talk about with.
Red is so funny. It's such a deep and powerful song, but I honestly do not have. I don't know if I even really want to spill this, because I think people are gonna probably look at me in a different way. But I really honestly did not experience anything to write that song. I didn't have. Yeah,
personal
I know.
experiences.
Yeah, I did not have an experience where I'm just like, oh, I'm feeling like this right now. When let me just write this song, Red, and Red represents anger, by the way. But yeah, I really did it.
Was it from a friend? Do you write sometimes from friends' perspectives?
It was from an idea.
An idea?
Yeah, it really is. Wow. And I know a lot of songwritings come from things that you have experienced yourself and personal, issues or whatever you have been through. But I literally just had the idea and I wrote it down. You're looking at me like, what?
I'm just
whack.
No.
No.
Because you would think like everybody who, especially as a first song, everybody who writes something, it's something from the heart.
Yeah.
And now I didn't even think when I listened to Red.
I've been around people who have experienced that. So, I experienced it in that way, and I wrote from their perspective. Yeah. But as far as me, myself, no. So it was an idea, and then I've been around people who have, like I said, who went through it like that. And matter of fact, one of my first performances when I performed Red, we was at this restaurant called Farafina. It's in Harlem, dope restaurant. And me and the band, we was performing this song, and the waitress, she was waiting on tables. When I got to Red, she literally stopped what she was doing in like mid first verse of Red. And she stood there the whole song. And till this day, I still know her and talk to her. And after I got done, we went on break, or either we finished. She came to me and she was like, I am going through that exact thing right now, and I am trying to find my way to come from this and to rise from, him
Yeah.
and get out of here.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that funny about
it's
relationships?
so crazy.
They're very relatable.
Yeah.
And like you said, like Red, the color of anger. Just it's love. You know, you go through the highs and the lows, but you're trying to find yourself in that union. And that's interesting that she was able to connect, and I know that made your day, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
always does.
Because it's like not only am I writing for myself, and I got to get this off my chest as a form of expression, but someone relates enough to me to say that to stop me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what I think. At that point, did you realize, okay, this thing could work?
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. I'm always certain songs. I already think big on. I knew Red was kind of like one of those songs, even though it's not like a huge song right now. I know that later on, Red is going to become a very huge song. It's already the most played song on my EP. Yeah, it's like way past the other songs.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I know if anyone wants to check it out, there's an official video online, and she has it on YouTube. But the visuals are great for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I think we met somehow in between that. But fast forward, you took that energy, and I guess you were performing in different places.
Mm-hmm.
Is it where do you normally perform in New York?
So every month I perform at this restaurant called SoCo. Is owned by, I definitely know Mark Daly. His wife is the reality star off of one of the reality shows. Forgive me for not knowing which one, but I just don't really watch them. But it's either Basketball Wives or Hip Hop in Atlanta. It's one of those.
That's fair.
I know.
No, SoCo I've heard is a great place.
Well, yeah, Kendra Moore, that's her name.
Kendra Moore, dope,
Yeah.
dope. Okay.
She's so sweet too. I sung At Last at their restaurant when she came there, and she was like, "This is our wedding song." I was like, "Oh snap, okay."
That's dope. So, have you, you said Harlem? Any other places that you've performed in New York?
Yeah, so Groove was one of my stepping stones, which that is in, it's not too far. It's a couple of doors down from Blue Note, which is another milestone that I would love to do. It is so hard to get in there.
West Village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when anybody who's, especially soulful artists, they talk about Fat Cat, West Village, the Groove, you just, were you a spectator at one point looking at those spaces, or how did you come across knowing that was the place that you wanted to be at?
Yeah, so I actually know Auntie Cheryl. We call her Auntie Cheryl. She's an artist herself, killing vocals. She's a beast. She also has played it with Tyler Perry in the plays.
Wow.
Yeah, man, her vote, she hits like those all 5 octaves and probably past. So when I met her, I just kind of just clinged on to her as family. I met her at Milk River at first, and then
that's in Brooklyn.
Milk River, yep, is in Brooklyn.
Good
Then she went to Village Underground, and
it's
then
another iconic place.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's another place I performed at. And then Groove, I actually had my own show, like my own set. So
dope.
yeah,
So
so
before,
many
when you were starting,
prestigious
even
people,
after Red,
artists.
you were, not to cut you off, but
Oh, yeah,
after Red, you didn't immediately have your own slot. There were places that you were coming in doing 5 minutes here or background. Were you doing background?
I have done background, but not recording. I've always done background live.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
the live performances.
Yeah.
There were until you went to Groove, and that's when you had your own set.
Pretty much. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, even in like Long Island.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
Get out of here. Long Island, for anybody who doesn't know, Long Island to New York is like saying, hey, I live in New York. And then they say, what part? And you say, Long Island. And it's like,
Nah,
that's
you're
not
not
New
in
York.
New
That's not New York.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's funny. So tell me about the first couple of months being at Groove. You worked that hard to have your own slot, and people put you on. People who are in the industry helped you to that point. First night at Groove, was everything great? Did you get a standing ovation? Did you get a sold out show?
You know what? Actually, sold. I mean, got a not sold, but we actually got a pretty good amount of tickets on people on just my part. You know, they already have their own audience. They're well established.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see how many people who actually bought tickets from my end
To show love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a packed night, and we did our thing. It was for a Christmas gig. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So of course it was like regular songs, but me, I'm a Christmas geek. I had to add in other Christmas music. But yeah, just pretty much Groove, Village Guy, like Cafe Wild, like all of these places are major. You have a lot of artists that come in there who are kind of well in the music industry, and they'll
Right.
come there. People who are stars on TV, they come through. So I was Peter Guns. I've met him a couple of times and didn't even know who he was.
Wow. Wow.
That is hilarious. But he was at Groove. So that's pretty much how I worked that.
Well, the reason why I mentioned that was because, on the journey of being great, you kind of run into these little snags sometimes.
Oh,
Even
definitely.
if you don't intend for it, life sort of has a great way of humbling you and letting you know, hey, we're still here, So I guess my better question is, being in Groove, even though you had your own set, how long was the set, and more importantly, let's talk about selling out, like not the idea of selling out, but really to you, success versus the financial aspect. If you don't want to be dishonest, you don't have to be, but I think what people would love to know is, how hard is it as a live singer? Not a recording person who can MTV or VH1 it out, like someone whose entire focus is to bring genuine music back. How hard is it to get people to really not only buy into you, and then also on a weekly basis come back and see you? Because I'm sure there are family and friends who say, yeah, I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
But
All day.
how long does that last? So talk about that. Talk about some of the good and some of the bad.
I think you asked me like 5 questions in one. But
Good.
I'm trying to remember these. I know it is very tough being an artist and just like coming into yourself and not selling out. I can't really use the term sell out in such a derogatory way, because a lot of times when people say you sell out, quote unquote, that's actually more success for you and growth for you. Just because you are not doing the thing that you were originally doing does not mean that you're a sellout. And I feel that's kind of where I feel that's a thin line right there where people kind of get that crossed. But yeah, it's definitely pretty tough. You have so many people are doing music right now, so it's kind of tough to get in. But I will say, if you can kill it, you can kill it, and you will get picked up easier.
And what does that mean when you say you can kill it?
For instance, and I don't mind putting myself in this scenario at all. But do you know the artist Allie Caldwell? Allie Caldwell. She was actually on The Voice and American Idol. But before she was on there, she was in the same place as I was. Same pretty much situation. It's hard to pay rent, like struggling to be an artist, but at the same time, you know what you're capable of. So I was in our comparison. Let's just say if we were both at Groove or at Village Underground at the same time, both of us get on stage and perform. She has beasting vocals, so they will swoop her up before me. It'll probably take like another 2 years to get in with anyone. Yeah. So like if you're killing, then you're killing, and they're gonna see that very quickly and pick you up.
Gotcha. So I guess you're saying part of it is talent, but the other part of it is, with her, she must have worked really hard to get to that point in time. And someone told me, like, there's a saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when you shine, you shine.
Right.
I mean, and
No one
it
can
was
doubt that.
probably it was probably like it would be a bad night for me at that time. But at the same time, I can't hit all those notes that she hits. I mean, she's versatile and everywhere with her vocals.
Is she older than you?
We're about the same age.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, we're all on a journey though.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
and there are a
even
lot of
her,
worse
she's still
people
doing her thing.
who for some reason have figured it out and selling shows and touring, and you're like, but you're trash. And I joke with other artists about this all the time, that you have something to say, you have your own individual voice, and no one can take that away.
This is true.
Yeah. So I mean, what were some of the nights like? Like, you would perform a groove, and aside from that first couple of times where family and friends came out, what were some of the nights like? Like, when you looked out in the crowd, how many people were there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Groove and that area, that, like I said, they have their own crowd, so they're always pretty deep in.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Gotcha.
I mean, not all the time, like back to the entrance door, but it's always a pretty good crowd there, no matter what night, really.
Okay.
But I will say, very supportive crowd though. Like if you do a good job, my night when I was at Groove, I had my own set. I think my set was probably 45 minutes, something like that, between 35 45 minutes. Yeah, I mean, we did our thing. The crowd, they clapped and everything. Some stood up, got a nice amount of tips. So that's another thing that
Always
speaks
nice.
for itself. I know.
We need a tip.
Yes, we do.
Give me the tip. Yep.
Yeah, it just worked out like that.
Has there ever been, even recently, has there ever been moments where you've let's just talk about performing or getting yourself ready for performance? Like, what does that consist of? Is it, for someone who's a recording artist, they can just put a backing track, right?
That's changed over time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So have you embraced the backing track, or are you saying for you went from embracing it to, nah, I'm not gonna do that? Or it depends
Backing
on
tracks, like single with tracks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's how I started off. Actually, I definitely started off singing with tracks. Matter of fact, when I got to doing with live bands, it was so difficult.
Really?
It was so difficult for me because I was so used to tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was so difficult, but I feel like
it's a groove.
Yeah.
Literally, groove. Jinx.
I just I feel like when you're live, the vibrations of all those instruments, like it's a vibration that you feel, and sometimes the music is too loud and it suffocates your voice, and the band will have to learn how to play softer.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was one of my things. Another thing was like projecting. I can project easier doing tracks rather than I can a band. It was really weird, but I mean, it was difficult for me. I forgot your other question that you said.
No,
I know, I'm like drawing blanks here.
that was great. Really, it was just about, I guess, are you pro recording now in the game? Are you pro backtrack or con backtrack, or does it have its purpose?
Oh no, I still do sing the track. Some people, whenever they book me for different events, they don't want a band. They just want a simple track, and you just have good energy, and that's about it. And some people, they love that live experience. I would say, now as far as my preparation to getting ready, because now that was your other that was your other question. Like I said, that has changed over the years. Before, when I was younger, I used to listen to Floetry before a performance. Before every performance, I would listen to Floetry, and that would put me in my zone, and I would be ready for a show. Now, then it changed to like just, hearing just vibing music. And so now I don't too much do that now. I think now I just make sure that I do certain techniques, take certain breaths, do certain mouth exercises, certain vocal exercises. I went through most of the Christina Aguilera masterclass, and so she gives you great tips on how to warm up your voice. Make sure you have honey or throat coats. So it's like certain things that as you grow and get older in this industry, you will learn certain tricks and techniques to get yourself ready.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and shout out the masterclass for that perspective. That's really good. That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you're saying it's a journey.
It is.
And you never went to school for this thing. You just the school of hard knocks, pretty much.
That's pretty much it. I never went to school for music. I
Wow.
always wanted to minor in it or major in it, But like I said, I was one of those multi-talented kids. I wanted to do all of these things, and it
Yeah.
just didn't plan out like that. Learned it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
But nope, never majored in it. But I always did a self-study. Even though I went to school or I did other things, I always made sure I had time for music, and that's when I studied vocals from Powerhouse Music. So that's how come I started. I started off singing Powerhouse Music because that's what I studied first.
Got it.
I studied mimicking how they sing. So I know Christina Aguilera, she has more of a growl in her voice whenever she sings. So I learned how to do that. Whitney Houston, when she has riffs, even in her higher notes. So I learned how to do that because I'm mimicking everything that they're doing. Even when they move their tongue a certain way. If I don't get it right, I move my tongue a different way. So that's what
Oh, so you test out different things.
Yeah.
Word. That's dope. That is dope. When we talk about being an entrepreneur and A/B testing, that's pretty much if one way doesn't work, then let's try another way. Another way doesn't work.
Yeah.
But there are reference points that you're having. You're like, okay, this doesn't work for me. It may work for her, but it doesn't work for me. So now I know,
Right.
and I can move forward. That's dope.
Yeah, it kind of took it kind of ended up, I wouldn't say it kind of ended up being a downfall for me, but it just took me longer to find my own voice because I felt I did not have my own voice for the longest because I knew how to mimic so many other artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I sing a Whitney, it's like, oh man, you sound so similar to Whitney Houston.
Mhm.
Or if I sing Christina Aguilera, oh man, I knew I recognized, the tone of how you're singing is Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
And so I felt like for the longest, it took me forever to find my own voice.
That's crazy.
And I found it out through other people as I kept performing. So not even myself. Other people would tell me, I knew I remembered your voice. I knew your voice sounded familiar. When I saw your face, I'm like, yeah, of course, that's Arye.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That is
so I
dope.
started listening back. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I have my own sound now.
Let's talk about actions as far as when you go and you do a performance. How do you set the mood, or is it? What is your way of because every artist has different ways of connecting with the audience. So do you do any callbacks? Do you try to talk to people? Do you try to find out if someone has a marriage or anniversary? Like,
Love it. I
Yeah.
love doing that.
so how do you do it? How do you?
I mean, well, I'll put it out there. Some people actually would hit me up and tell me, oh, this is our wedding anniversary, or or we're about to have a kid, about to have a baby, or whatever. And I would always try to incorporate that into shows. There's not a lot of shows, but I do whenever they hit me up or whenever I can. Whenever you want to celebrate something, I actually wrote an anniversary song,
Really?
like an original. I can't wait to record it.
I can't wait for you.
But
Okay.
whenever I'm at shows, and as far as setting the mood at shows, when I put out a show, if I have a theme for a show, it's just like one show I did. It was Soulful Jazz, and that was the theme title for that show. So you'll
Mhm.
already know kind of what to expect. I'm not in control of a lot of things when it comes to production whenever I'm at other people's venues. So it's not like I can say, oh, bring this light down
Right.
here,
You just have
bring
to work
this
with
up.
what they
Yeah,
got.
kind of have to work with what
Is
you
that a
have.
challenge? I mean, obviously, you would hopefully want to have your input because that's your
Yeah.
voice. But there have just been times where you.
I feel like I have been in such raw areas that it's not really a challenge for me. I pretty much can sing wherever. As long as the system and the sound sounds great,
Mhm.
that's what I need.
Cool. Wow. Wow. Man. There are experiences, or let me ask you this. Where, with all the things that you've experienced, do you feel like you're still learning about Arye? You're still learning about yourself as far as what an artist means, and are you becoming more comfortable in the idea or just more confident in the fact that you don't have to be signed in order to be successful, in order to have success, or whatever success means for you? Are you becoming more aware of that, or is it at the end of the day you would love to get, because I think we all would love to get co-signed by Christina Aguilera, or maybe a mentorship by her, or
Yeah.
or are you at this point where you're like, you know what, it's a journey, so it could be all three, it could be none of those.
Well, as far as every day is, every opportunity is growth. So even if it between opportunities in your daily life, you are always, I feel like I'm always learning more about Arye. I'm always learning about wild child goddess, even more of the wild child or more of the goddess. So I know that that is my theme. Who's to say it's going to change in the next like 10 years? I don't know. I feel like I can always work with it and change it up and switch it up. But yeah, I mean, as far as I feel like I'm always growing into that, growing into who Arye is. Um, I am definitely getting more comfortable in not being signed. If you are, and let me just say, I'm not bashing people who are signed. When the deal is right, take it. If you have a good deal, take the deal. If I am presented with a deal that I know is not going to harm me in the long run, it's just looking good right now. That's what a lot of these young new artists got to watch out for. Oh man, you're giving me $1 million straight up front. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to pay that back. Like,
And then some.
you know what I mean? Especially with you not owning your own stuff, not owning your own masters. You know, you just have to really think about what you actually want. If you want to make a quick buck, hey, that is up to you. To each his own. But as far as me, I'm good with not being signed. If if a huge artist is co-signing me, that's great. I don't think I have to be signed for a celebrity to like you. I know that I know Normani, but I'm just gonna use for example. I know Normani came from Fifth Harmony, but she has put out. Let's just say if she wasn't a part of Fifth Harmony and she put out this work that she has. Beyonce already said she's one of my favorite artists. Boom, Beyonce. Like,
Yeah, you can't buy that sort of publicity.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like if you just have enough great quality stuff out there and you're really showing your creativity and your art and you're doing it as you, I think it's going to be recognized no matter who is signed or not signed or what position or status they're in. I feel like it's just going to be recognized everywhere. And that's one thing that I have come to realize, and I'm good with not being signed. I just want to grow in my audience.
This is great. This is a great conversation. I'm going to cut it.
Oh.
I'm so sorry. But we will be back soon, hopefully. Let me ask you, Arye, what are your socials? Where are you how can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter under Arye Harmony. Simple as that. ARYEHARMONY. Website is aryeharmony.com. I'm very proud of that website.
Hey, we are proud that you got a website. There are artists who don't have no website. So
I know.
look, the fact that you are out there and doing your thing, that's more important than what a website looks like.
Oh yeah. Oh, and also I know I said a handful of artists today is, very dope. I also have to say this. I'm so glad for the artists that have been out and that are still coming out with great music, even though they may not be as mainstream. Like Brian McKnight, Joe, of course Mariah is still out, J-Lo is still out. Like we still have our
greatness.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
For taking the time for coming out.
I loved it.
I loved it too. All right. You have a good day.
You do too.